Hi everyone, welcome to Nightmare Echo. I know a lot of you use this video to sleep, so before you drift off I think it will be a fun idea if everybody will comment to let me know where you are listening from in the world. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe and like if you're enjoying the case. Right, relax and drift off to sleep while listening to captivating true crime stories paired with soothing rain sounds. The road stretches ahead, empty and endless. The rain drizzles against the windshield, tiny droplets catching the glow of the headlights before sliding away into the darkness. It's late. Too late. Most of the world is asleep. But somewhere out here, in the vast emptiness, a car moves forward, cutting through the night. Inside, a young man grips the wheel, his phone pressed to his ear, speaking softly, reassuring the person on the other end that everything is fine. He's lost, maybe a little frustrated, but not afraid. Not yet. His voice is steady, calm. His parents listen, trying to figure out where he is, piecing together the fragments of his directions. The conversation continues. Then, without warning, there's a pause. A shift. Something in his voice changes. Urgency creeps in, just for a second. Then, nothing. The call cuts off. Dead air. A silence that stretches into the night, vast and unbroken. The line is empty. And from that moment on, so is the road. He's gone. Another night. Another city. A bar filled with laughter, music, the clinking of glasses. A young man stands with friends, caught in a moment of celebration. He moves through the crowd, smiling, relaxed. The cameras catch glimpses of him, a flash of his face, a turn of his head, the easy confidence of someone who knows this place well. Then, he steps away. Just for a moment. He rounds a corner, moving toward an exit, a hallway, a shadowed space out of view. And that's it. He's never seen again. Two men. Two different nights. Two disappearances that defy explanation. One moment, they were here, laughing, talking, moving through the world like any of us. The next, nothing. No trace. No answers. Just an absence. A space where they should have been. What happened on those nights? What was waiting for them beyond the reach of the headlights, beyond the hum of the city, beyond the last step they took before everything changed? Tonight, we retrace their final moments, uncovering the details, the inconsistencies, the lingering questions that refuse to fade. Because even now, all these years later, the search for them has never truly ended. Story 1. The road stretches out, narrow and desolate, cutting through miles of open farmland. There are no street lights here, no passing cars, no signs of life beyond the occasional silhouette of an aging barn or the dark outline of distant trees. The sky above is ink black, scattered with stars, but below, the world feels empty. The kind of quiet that settles deep, pressing in from all sides. It's the early hours of May 14, 2008, and somewhere along this lonely stretch of road, a young man is trying to make his way home. Brandon Swanson is 19 years old. A college student, smart, independent, with a quick sense of humor. Tonight, he's been celebrating the end of the semester with friends, a small gathering, nothing out of the ordinary. Just a night like any other. But now, the night is over, and he's heading home. It should be a simple drive. A route he knows. A road he's traveled before. But something happens. Something that changes everything. Just after midnight, Brandon's car leaves the road. There's no sudden impact, no violent crash, just a miscalculation, a turn that doesn't go as planned. The vehicle rolls into a shallow ditch, tilting but not overturning. He's unhurt. No broken glass, no injuries. Just a car stuck in the dark, wheels spinning uselessly against damp earth. The situation is frustrating, but not alarming. Not yet. He calls home. His father picks up. The connection is clear, steady. Brandon explains what happened, his voice calm. He's driven off the road, but he knows where he is, or at least, he thinks he does. He gives directions, tells them he'll wait while they come to pick him up. His parents don't hesitate. They get in the car and drive out to find him. But when they arrive, he isn't there. They check the roadsides, scanning the ditches, looking for the reflection of headlights bouncing off his car. Nothing. They drive forward, then back, retracing the route, certain they must have missed him. But there's no sign of him. No stranded vehicle. No flashing hazards in the night. Just open fields and silence. They call him back. "We're here, Brandon. Where are you?" He's just as confused. He insists he's exactly where he said he would be. But if that were true, they would see him. And they don't. Something isn't right. Brandon decides to walk toward the nearest town. He's sure he's close. They stay on the phone, his parents listening to the steady sound of his footsteps against the dirt road. The conversation continues, stretching on for nearly an hour. His voice is steady, unshaken. He's talking about where he's walking, describing what he sees. It's late, but he isn't worried. He keeps moving. There's a shift. A moment barely noticeable, but there. His voice falters for just a second. A pause. The rhythm of his steps slows. Then. The line goes dead. His parents call back instantly. Once. Twice. Over and over. No answer. Somewhere in the darkness, Brandon Swanson is gone. In the days that follow, search teams will comb through miles of open land, tracing every possible route he could have taken. They will search ditches, rivers, abandoned buildings, looking for any trace of him. But they will find nothing. No footprints leading away. No scattered belongings. Nobody. Just an empty road, a dropped call, and the unshakable sense that something, somewhere, went very wrong. The road is empty. Headlights cut through the darkness, scanning the landscape, but there is nothing. Just miles of open farmland, patches of tall grass swaying under the weight of the wind. His parents drive slowly, searching both sides of the road, expecting at any moment to see the familiar shape of his car, hazard lights flashing, waiting for them. But there's no sign of him. No stranded vehicle. No movement. Just the long stretch of road disappearing into the night. Brandon said he was here. He described the location clearly. He was sure of it. So why can't they find him? They keep driving, doubling back, retracing the route again and again, their voices growing more urgent each time they call his name into the empty night. But there's no response. Just static on the other end of the line. He was there, just minutes ago. And now. He's gone. It isn't until morning that they find his car. But when they do, it's not where he said it would be. Not even close. His vehicle is miles away from where he told them he was. A black Chevrolet Lumina, slightly tilted in a shallow ditch off a gravel road. The driver's side door is closed. There are no signs of a struggle, no shattered windows, no skid marks. The car is simply there. As if it had been abandoned in the middle of nowhere. But that isn't the strangest part. The real question isn't just the way the car is here. It's how it got here. Brandon was certain about his location. He described landmarks, familiar turns, roads he recognized. But if his car is here, then everything he told his parents that night, every direction, every detail, was wrong. And if that was wrong, then where was he really walking? And more importantly, where was he going? Investigators arrive. They search the area, moving carefully through the tall grass, looking for any sign that Brandon had been here. A footprint. A dropped item. Anything that could tell them which direction he went. But there's nothing. No clear path leading away. No evidence of a person moving through the fields. It's as if, after leaving his car, he simply disappeared. They bring in dogs, trained to track human scent. The animals move through the fields, noses to the ground, following a faint trail. For a while, there's progress. They pick up his scent, leading them toward an open field, further and further from the road. But then, the trail just stops. Abruptly. Without warning. As if Brandon was there one moment, and the next, gone. No clear direction. No footprints leading away. Just an open space where he should have been. Days pass. The search expands. Hundreds of volunteers comb the area, covering miles of farmland, rivers, wooded patches, looking for anything, a piece of clothing, a dropped phone, any sign of movement. But nothing is found. The field is empty. The roads are quiet. And Brandon Swanson remains missing. How does a person vanish without a trace? How does someone walk away from their car, in the dead of night, on familiar roads, and simply cease to exist? His parents have spent years searching for those answers. But as time stretches on, only one truth remains: whatever happened that night, whatever led to that final phone call, that last unfinished sentence. Brandon Swanson never came home. A phone call. A crash. And then, nothing. A 19-year-old walks into the darkness, his voice steady, his path certain. And then, in the middle of a sentence, he is cut off, vanishing into the night without a sound, without a struggle, without a single clue to tell us where he went next. To this day, no one knows what really happened to Brandon Swanson. But the possibilities? They are unsettling. There are theories, explanations that attempt to piece together the fragments of that night. But each one leads only to more questions. Because no matter which way you look at it, something doesn't add up. The first theory is the most straightforward. Perhaps, as he wandered through the darkness, Brandon unknowingly approached the Yellow Medicine River. The land around it is uneven, patches of tall grass and thick brush masking the sloping banks that drop into the water below. If he got too close, if he misjudged a step, he could have slipped, fallen into the rushing current, and been swept away before he could react. It's a plausible explanation, one that would account for the abrupt way his call ended, the sudden exclamation before the line went dead. But if that were true, where is he? Search teams combed the river extensively, boats moving along the banks, divers plunging into the depths, scouring every possible space where he could have been. They found nothing. No clothing caught on branches. No footprints leading to the edge. No evidence that he had ever been near the water at all. And if the current had taken him that night, logic says something, anything, should have surfaced eventually. But it didn't. And after years of searching, the river remains silent. Then there is another possibility. One that is harder to face. What if Brandon wasn't alone that night? The roads he walked were empty. The field stretched on for miles, open and quiet, untouched. But darkness has a way of hiding things. And in the stillness of that night, is it possible that someone else was out there? Watching. Waiting. Moving unseen between the trees or along the distant roads, staying just beyond the reach of the headlights? If so, then the moment his call cut off wasn't an accident. It was something else entirely. But there's a problem with this theory, too. There is no evidence of foul play. No blood. No broken phone. No discarded belongings that would suggest a struggle. And if someone had been out there, if another presence had emerged from the shadows, then why did no one hear a thing? His parents were on the phone with him, listening to the steady rhythm of his voice for nearly an hour. Wouldn't they have heard something? A second voice? The sound of footsteps quickening, breaking into a run. A moment of panic before the line went silent. Or, could it have been something far simpler? No accident. No second person. Just a wrong turn, a miscalculated step, and the merciless cold of the Minnesota night. Hypothermia is unforgiving. It does not happen all at once. It creeps in slowly, stealing warmth in small, subtle increments. First, there is confusion. A sense of disorientation. The mind plays tricks, making the familiar seem foreign, the safe feel distant. A person may walk in circles, convinced they are heading in the right direction. Then the exhaustion sets in. The body, desperate to preserve heat, begins shutting down. Muscles weaken. The cold no longer feels as unbearable, it almost feels warm. In the final stages, many begin to shed their clothing, a cruel trick of the nervous system, making them believe they are overheating when in reality, their body is shutting down. If Brandon had walked far enough, farther than he intended, farther than anyone predicted, he may have simply collapsed somewhere beyond the search grid. Hidden in the brush. Concealed beneath the tall grass, where time and the elements erased any trace of him. It is possible. But if that's the answer, then why, after years of searching, has no one found him? A car in a ditch. A phone call filled with certainty. A young man walking confidently into the night, sure of where he was, sure of where he was going. And then, nothing. No sign. No clue. Nobody. Just silence. More than a decade has passed, but the questions remain. What happened to Brandon Swanson in those final moments? Did he misstep, falling somewhere no one has thought to look? Did he encounter something, or someone, that night? Or is the answer something else entirely, something we may never fully understand? Story 2. Columbus, Ohio. A Saturday night like any other. The streets are alive with the energy of the weekend, groups of friends spilling out of bars, the glow of neon signs reflecting off damp sidewalks. The air is cool, but inside the ugly Tuna Saloona, it's warm, loud, buzzing with conversation. Among the crowd is Brian Schaefer. 27 years old. A second-year medical student. He's here with friends, celebrating the start of spring break. Laughing. Drinking. Relaxed. Brian had every reason to celebrate. The stress of exams was behind him, and ahead. A trip to Miami with his girlfriend, an escape to sun-soaked beaches, a break from the relentless grind of medical school. He was in good spirits. Happy. Playfully teasing his friends, buying another round of drinks, leaning against the bar with the ease of someone who had no reason to worry. But what no one realized, not his friends, not the bartenders, not the dozens of people brushing past him that night, was that in just a few short hours, Brian Schaefer would be gone. Not just missing. But gone. Without a trace. Without a single explanation. The ugly Tuna Saloona wasn't just any bar. It was on the second floor of a building, accessible only by a single escalator leading up from the street below. There was one main entrance, and that entrance was covered by security cameras. Every person who entered was seen. Every person who left was recorded. There was no back door for customers. No hidden exits. Just one way in and one way out. But somehow, Brian Schaefer walked into the bar that night, and no one ever saw him leave. Around 1:55 a.m., closing time approached. The crowd thinned, conversations winding down, the energy of the night beginning to fade. Brian was last seen near the entrance, talking to two women. His friend, Clint, stepped away for a moment. When he turned back, Brian was gone. It didn't seem alarming at first. Maybe he had slipped away to use the restroom. Maybe he had stepped outside for air. Maybe he was waiting for them downstairs. But as minutes passed, then an hour, then two, there was still no sign of him. No response to calls. No reply to texts. The night ended, the bar empty, and Brian Schaefer was nowhere to be found. At first, no one panicked. It was late. He had been drinking. Maybe he had gone home without saying anything. But the next day, as calls continued to go unanswered, a sense of unease crept in. His car was still parked at his apartment. His belongings untouched. His plane ticket for Miami, still sitting there, waiting to be used. And yet, Brian was gone. It wasn't until security footage from the bar was reviewed that the real mystery began to unfold. The cameras showed everything. Brian walking in with his friends. The crowded bar, the movements of people throughout the night. But the moment that mattered most? The moment Brian should have left. It never came. Hours of footage were combed through, frame by frame. Every person who exited was accounted for. But Brian? He never appeared. It was as if, at some point in the night, he had simply ceased to exist. But how? The bar wasn't a maze. There was no secret passageway, no basement to disappear into. The security footage was clear. If he had left through the front entrance, the cameras would have caught him. But they didn't. And that left only two possibilities: either he was still inside the bar, unseen, undiscovered. Or he had left in a way that no one could explain. His family, his friends, the police, they all searched. They checked every inch of the building, every hallway, every locked door. Nothing. No sign of him. No logical explanation for how he could have vanished from a place with only one way out. And as the days turned into weeks, one unsettling truth became clear: Brian Schaefer had disappeared into thin air. And no one could understand how. A puzzle with missing pieces. A question without an answer. A disappearance that should have been impossible. At 1:15 a.m., Brian is seen on camera. He's walking into the Ugly Tuna Saloon, alongside his friends. His movements are natural, unhurried. He blends into the crowd, just another patron on a Saturday night. From that moment, everything about his presence is accounted for, until it isn't. Security footage captures them all. Groups of friends saying their goodbyes, stepping onto the escalator, filtering back onto the street below. But there is no sign of Brian Schaefer. He is not among them. He does not walk past the camera. He does not step into the frame. He is simply gone. The footage is reviewed again. Then again. Then frame by frame, every second scrutinized. Nothing changes. The footage does not lie: Brian Schaefer never left through the front entrance. But if that's true, then where did he go? There was no back exit for customers. No alleyway leading to another street. The only doors available led to restricted areas, places that should have been locked, places no one could access without a key. And yet, the reality was undeniable: Brian entered, but he never exited. It defied logic. And as investigators struggled to make sense of it, only three possibilities remained. The first theory: he was hiding. That somehow, in those final minutes before the bar emptied out, Brian slipped away into a part of the building that no one had thought to check. A storeroom. A hallway. A forgotten corner where he remained, unseen, as the lights dimmed and the doors were locked for the night. It isn't impossible. But it raises more questions than it answers. If he had stayed inside, why was he never found? Why, when the staff cleaned, when the bar opened again the next day, was there no trace of him? And if he had hidden, why? What reason would he have had to disappear willingly, leaving his phone, his wallet, his entire life behind? Then, the second theory. That somehow, some way, Brian managed to slip out unseen. That he moved through the bar undetected, avoiding the cameras entirely. Maybe through an employee entrance. Maybe through an emergency exit. But that explanation had its flaws, too. Those exits led to well-lit areas, loading docks, stairwells, places where someone should have noticed him. And yet, no one did. No footage, no witnesses, no trace. And then, the third possibility. One that no one wanted to consider. That Brian Schaefer never left the bar because he was never given the chance to. If something happened to Brian inside the bar, if he was met with danger, if he was harmed, then the security footage wouldn't hold the answer, because he never would have made it to the door. But if that were the case, then where was the evidence? No struggle. No sound. No sign of distress. Just a man who, by all accounts, should still be standing in that room, but wasn't. His family searched. His friends searched. Flyers were posted. Calls were made. Weeks passed. Then months. Then years. And still, no sign of him. No new leads. No answers. A man walks into a bar. A place with only one way in. One way out. A place where every movement is recorded, every person accounted for. And yet, by the end of the night, he is gone. No goodbyes. No explanation. Just a mystery that refuses to be solved. The human mind demands explanations. It refuses to accept the impossible. When faced with a question that has no clear answer, we search for reason, for logic, for something, anything, that makes sense. But when it comes to Brian Schaefer, logic fails. Reason falters. And the explanations? They all crumble under the weight of the facts. 3 theories remain. 3 attempts to explain how a man could enter a place filled with people, surrounded by cameras, and never come out. The first theory, the idea that Brian Schaefer left in disguise. That somehow, in the chaos of closing time, he changed his appearance, slipped past the cameras, and walked away unnoticed. But there's a problem with that. Brian left everything behind, his wallet, his keys, his phone. If he planned to disappear, why wouldn't he take the essentials? Why leave behind every tool he'd need to start over? And beyond that, why go through the trouble of a disguise when slipping out unnoticed was already nearly impossible? Then, the second theory. The one no one wanted to consider. That something happened inside the bar. That Brian Schaefer never made it to the exit because he never had the chance to leave. But if a crime had taken place, if something had happened within those walls, then where was the evidence? No struggle. No sound. No reports of anything unusual. And security cameras, always recording, always watching. If Brian had been harmed, how could every single frame of footage hold nothing? And then, the final theory. The idea that Brian left willingly. That he chose to disappear, abandoning his life, his career, his family, without a word. But why? Why would he leave behind everything he worked for? His future as a doctor. His family, still grieving the recent loss of his mother. His girlfriend, waiting for him, just blocks away, expecting a proposal. Nothing in Brian's life pointed toward a man on the edge of walking away. And if he truly had, how did he do it without leaving a single trace? The theories exist because they have to. Because something must have happened that night. But each one leaves behind more questions than answers. And the only person who could have explained it, he's the one who's missing. Brian Schaefer walked into a bar. And just like that, he was gone. No clues. No explanations. Just, an empty space where he should have been. 2 young men. 2 separate lives. No connection between them. No shared path. And yet, the same fate. Brandon Swanson, a 19-year-old college student driving home in the dead of night. A call that lasted 47 minutes. A single, final exclamation, cut off abruptly. A car found miles from where he claimed to be. And then, nothing. No trace of where he went next. No footprints in the mud. No clues to follow. Just an empty stretch of road where he should have been. Brian Schaefer, a 27-year-old medical student celebrating the start of spring break. He walks into a bar, surrounded by friends, security cameras tracking every entrance and exit. But when the night ends, the footage reveals the impossible. Brian entered, but he never left. No sign of him outside. No movements captured. No explanation for how a man could vanish in a place where every angle was being watched. Two men. Two disappearances that defy logic. No remains found. No confirmed sightings. No closure. Was it a wrong turn on a deserted road? A fatal misstep into the unknown? Or was there something else, something that cannot be seen in the grainy security footage, something that was never captured in the final call? Were these disappearances tragic accidents? Were they the result of another force at play? Or do the answers remain just out of reach, waiting in the silence between the raindrops? What do you think happened? Was Brandon lost in the darkness, his path erased by time? Did Brian slip away into the city, leaving behind everything he knew? Or, is there another explanation? Something no one has considered? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you find yourself drawn to stories like these, stories of missing pieces, unanswered questions, and the spaces people leave behind, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because sometimes, the truth isn't where we expect to find it. And sometimes, the most unsettling mysteries remain unsolved.